At some point, it happens to all of us. You're gonna go through a goth phase. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, and I am pleased to talk to the director of My Summer as a Goth. Let's talk to Tara Johnson-Medinger. She is on the Film Threat Podcast to talk about her movie. And I would not be good at what I do if I did not wear a black t-shirt. This is a black t-shirt advertising our award, this event, which is our annual award show for indie film. But your film is incredibly charming.
Thank you.
Oh my God, it goes through all the sort of goth tropes. Whenever I've had friends who are goth, and I went through a goth phase in high school, I feel like it's so charming, it's cute, but also in a way, and I hope you take this the right way, it felt like, in a good way, like an after-school special, kind of a warning in a good way about toxic relationships and the ways that people can be manipulative in a destructive way in a relationship. And I thought that
absolutely, yeah,
you hit it so well in this movie without like hitting you over the head. It's like it's woven into the fabric of the story, but I really found it charming. It's about a girl staying with her grandparents for the summer, and she meets a goth boy who kind of changes her, grooms her, changes her personality into being, she's not cool unless she's goth, and she learns a lot about herself. But tell me where this come from, because I think that if someone is goth, I think that they would like this. And I think if you don't understand goth culture, I think you would also like it.
Yes, I think that it really has a broad appeal in terms of, our core demographic. Obviously, it's a coming of age film, teenagers. But I think that all of us that, came of age at one point in our lives, that there's going to be things that we find charming and universal through Joey's experience of this transformational summer she goes through. So the inspiration, actually, it's co-written by my best friend and I from high school. And we came of age in the late 80s in Salem, Oregon, and hung out in that kind of like misfits crowd, alternative crowd. Everybody kind of found each other of the kids downtown, all those wearers of black. And so we were really influenced by that kind of goth subculture of the 80s and the, alternative scene. And we also were very heavily influenced by all those coming of age films of the late 80s, that kind of John Hughes era of really like, near and dear to our hearts coming of age films. But when Brandon proposed the script, he came forward with the first version in 2009. So we've been working on it for a long time. And as we developed it over the years, and we really wanted to put forth a freshened up version of the coming of age story that we loved, right? Because if you look at some of those films nowadays through today's lens, there's some problems, right? And like you were saying, it's, the sort of morals of the story and everything were woven through the fabric of the film, because we didn't want to like bombard people with those gotcha moments, be shocked. It's like, it's really embracing otherness and normalizing it. So there were some things that we were very conscious of in terms of the writing and how we depicted the goth culture and otherness and the queer community and gender fluidity. There was a lot of stuff in there that's very subtle.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's the one character that she befriends that I feel like I don't want to go into any spoilers or anything, but
sure. Thank you.
Yeah, but what I really appreciated about the film is that you treated even minor characters were fully formed, right? Like they were not like, and I'm so glad you brought up John Hughes, because that's what I was thinking when I was watching the film. I'm like, oh, this is a film John Hughes may have made like in the 80s. And I just remember, like, to me, seeing Beetlejuice for the first time with Winona Ryder's character in that movie. She's so awesome. Like that became a type of girl I had a crush on back in high school. But I really feel like you sort of encapsulated all that stuff and didn't trivialize didn't trivialize aspects of it. It showed like in her relationship with this boy that she starts seeing, you see her sort of coming of age and realizing like where her boundaries are.
Exactly. I think that, there's a lot of red flags throughout
Yes.
Joey's experience in the summer. But when we meet her, she's gone through a really troubled time. She's lost her dad. She's sort of transitioning already. And when she goes to stay with her grandparents over the summer and meets this kind of new collection of people and friends and, lifestyle and fabric and all of the things, it's really overwhelming. But it's also a nice way for her to put aside that grief she's experiencing of the loss of her father. And I think that, in a lot of ways it gave her some relief, but it also nudged her into this next phase. I don't think that like Joey's completely changed and is on a major, new path in her life, but like all of us, we have these moments in our lives that just kind of put us on a different trajectory. And so that's what I see, like the evolution of Joey's character has much more ahead of her, right? I mean, there's going to be more moments in her life where she encounters these kind of bigger and difficult decisions that will transform her yet in another way.
Yeah, I almost feel in a way this is a really good film to show to young women, like
yeah, I agree.
because it shows in her relationship with this guy, like just the little. It's not he doesn't hit her. He's not abusive in an overt way, but you see underneath the surface, like, oh, that you put in all these red flags, but they're almost like, maybe pink flags in the sense that like. They're not like super hard stops. They're not like, okay, relationship ending, but they're things to notice to go, maybe I need to look at someone who's not making me do these things. I thought that was so well done. One thing I do want to comment on is growing up, like a goth culture was very alternative, very much you would be called names if you wore stuff like that to school. I don't even want to repeat those names.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
all lived it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that there's more of an awareness of bullying, and that's top of mind. But the thing that I will hear people criticize sometimes, like because you really had to find some hole in the wall place, or even go to a Salvation Army, right? Or find like cool clothes, and now you can go to a Hot Topic, right? And you can but see, some would see that as a criticism, and I see that as, no, it's cool. It's a fashion choice. Like Hot Topic's like at the mall. I happen to know one of the founders of Hot Topic. She now does big conventions. She puts on RuPaul's Drag Con.
Cool. Yeah.
In Los Angeles. And she is one of the founders of Hot Topic when it was basically this small store on Melrose Avenue. And I remember when I learned this about my friend, I'm like, you're kidding. What? Like the fact that is now culturally, like, it's a choice, and it's everywhere and pervade. And it's not just goth stuff. I mean, Hot Topic has, Marvel and Star Wars t-shirts,
Sure. Just
so
more accessible for kids who want that, and that's really cool. And of course, certainly the internet. I mean, you go on Instagram, #goth, and the world just like will pop open. The goth world will be there. And, there's lots of like high fashion. There's, sort of like Hot Topic, anything that you want to pull together. There's lots of people out there of all different ages, creating their own styles. It's very cool actually to see, because like I had to go and like dig through, the St. Vincent de Paul and Goodwill to like find stuff and pull it together. And we gave our characters a bit of that vibe because we wanted that. And a lot of the costumes we used actually were from like my personal collection, as well as my costumers collection of stuff that we just brought in to make these characters up. So it was exciting to put that together. We had a lot of fun.
Now, I really want to know if you got to see this movie in a theater with an audience, because I feel like it would be a crowd pleaser. And And I just don't know, like, timeline with were you able to see it like at a festival with an audience?
I was, fortunately. We finished up the film at the tail end of 2018 and started our festival run then. And so the whole year of 2019, I was in the film festival circuit with it. And I was able to go to a lot of those screenings along with some of my cast would be able to join me, which was a lot of fun to be able to sit in an audience full of people, hearing them laugh, hearing them cry, and really just like react to the film and then to talk with them afterwards was an amazing experience. And I feel really fortunate that like our time schedule landed in that way where we could do that. We signed our distribution deal earlier this year. We were supposed to do a theatrical run, but because of COVID, it's just not possible. And really we just had to make that decision to say, it's really ready to move to digital. People have been waiting for this film. It's been out there on the festival circuit. Like, let's just go for it. And so my distributor and I agreed that that was the best thing to do. And so I'm excited to see how it goes.
Well, I'm excited to see the comments at those festival screenings for the Q&A. You mentioned how people responded. Like, did you see the target audience for this? Because I could even see this. I could see this airing on like the Disney Channel, and by that I mean like it's family friendly in the sense that it's accessible. But
absolutely.
How did the target audience respond?
I think that generally for film festival audiences they skew a little older, and but I did a lot of promotion whenever we would like head to a certain city. I would make sure to like seek out the Goth community and be like, hey, we're playing here. And we've gained a whole bunch of followers over the years of doing this project. So, we'd get handfuls of folks that came out that, identified as Goth and, had been wanting to see this film forever. And I had some really heartfelt conversations with people about how the character of Joey really impacted them and how much like it was like, how did you put my life on screen? Like, how did you get in my brain? And, so there was something about Joey's character that really brought forth this like memory and sweetness for a lot of people that really just, glommed onto like those characters, and they just really identified with Joey's experience. Some people identified as Goth or alternative, and some people not. It's really about being a teenager and being authentic to that experience of like growing up. And that was one thing that we wanted to infuse in here too. It's not just about the Goth subculture. That's a really nice like visual and story like carrier for this film, but the journey of Joey is really about that transformation as a teenager who's lost her dad, and then is being influenced by new people in her life.
Well, it's so well done, and I'm really excited now that it's available or will be available on all the video on demand platforms, wherever Absolutely. You get your movies. Tara, thank you so much for being on the Film Threat podcast. And I want to thank real quickly our sponsor, Storyblocks. Go to storyblocks.com/filmthreat. It's all sorts of tools for filmmakers and creators. Tara, congratulations on the movie. I'm really excited for kids to see this. I think it's a lesson. I can't even remember if there's like a teen film I've seen that really addresses this specific issue so well. I mean, you could replace, yes, the Goth sort of is that sort of the gateway in, but there's so much more to this film, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.